Hi, everybody. Father Bill Holzinger here, and this is your Friday reflection. Well, I come today before you a little sad at the passing of Archbishop John Vlazny, the Archbishop that ordained me. I have great fond memories, and I just want to share a few of them with you, and maybe you have your own, but I just want to let you know some of mine. And so I beg your indulgence as I kind of wax about those few things that I want to share with you. The first one is when I first met him. In 1997, I was stationed as a seminarian at All Saints in Portland, which is right next to the pastoral center or real close to it. So myself and my pastor, Father John Kearns, we went there and were able to be present to his first address to us in the archdiocese. So the media was there and everything. And he seems like such a nice guy, and he loved to laugh. And that was wonderful to see. Much more of an extrovert than our previous archbishop, which would be, well, actually, I don't know. The previous archbishop was actually Archbishop George, who went on to be a cardinal in Chicago. But I'd say even before that, that'd be Leveda, who was a little more of an introvert. So it was just interesting to see this personality come to life, different. And I kind of really found that very attractive and in an evangelical way to kind of inspire me as a seminarian to be the best I could be. Well, when I introduced myself, I told him my name is Father Bill, seminarian Bill, or William is my real name. He goes, "Oh, Will, okay." And so from then on, he pretty much called me Will. And even though I said, "Well, Archbishop, nobody really calls me Will," but he still did that anyway. Well, one of the wonderful things that I remember especially about is I went on 2 pilgrimages with him, once to Rome and once to the Holy Land. And something that I just loved about him was how he was able to have the stamina to be able to do this. Every time we'd come back from one of these pilgrimages or trips that he would go on, even if it's for him just go to Chicago and come back, he was full of life. It wasn't like it daunted him. He was able, I guess, relax during it. But for me, every time I was coming back from one of these pilgrimages, those 2 I mentioned, I was exhausted. I was like, how does he do this? And I know then he also traveled back to Chicago, of course, DC for when the Congress of Bishops got together at the USCCB, things like that. And he'd come back like it was like no big deal. And for me, I'm like, wow, this guy's got some serious stamina and the ability to do that kind of thing. And he loved to travel. He also had wonderful friendships throughout the country, especially in Chicago and Winona, where he was before even that. It was Chicago, then Winona, and then Archdiocese of Portland. And there was a question when he was getting close to his retirement age, whether he would stay in Portland or if he would move back to Chicago where some of his family was. And he decided he would stay here. This was his home. These are his people. And, when he finally retired, instead of calling him Archbishop Emeritus Vlazny, I just called him Archgrandpa Vlazny. I just loved the man. He was a very kind-hearted soul, and he guided us through some of the most difficult times in the archdiocese. And I think about the priest abuse scandal that occurred. Of course, it all came down upon him to be able to deal with this. And whether you agree or not about how he ultimately handled it, I think, and knowing his heart and having conversations with him privately, that he really wished the best for the victims. And he didn't want to go to court, not because it would be costly, though that would be the case too, but he didn't want to re-victimize the people that were coming forward expressing their bad experiences with some priests. And of course, then he was the first in the whole world to file bankruptcy. There were some others that had thought about it, but he actually went through that. And the goal was to then be able to give in an equitable way restitution in some way. There's never a complete way, but in some way to those who were abused and those in the future that may come forward to find healing and justice as well. So those are some of those things. Another thing that I really loved about him is his liturgy style. He was very affable. Serving with him, he was never kind of gruff or anything. He had a beautiful voice. I loved how he chanted the Mass. In fact, I tried to mimic that as in the type of way he did that. And so I'd say he would be like, when I first was a priest, he was my bishop. And of course, now we have Archbishop Sample, which I've come to know him pretty well. And it's just a different relationship. Archbishop Sample is closer to my age. Archbishop Vlazny always was a senior statesman to me. So those are some of the things I remember. I also remember him coming to our parishes for confirmations, and other things like that. And he was always just so kind. And I'm going to miss him. The funeral for the Archbishop is going to be Friday, June 6th at 11 a.m. And the problem with that would be it's going to be held in the cathedral, but the one problem will be is that it's not going to hold everybody. And so there's about 1,000 people of capacity to the cathedral. And so that means not everybody will be able to come. But here's the good news is that they will live stream it. So if you're not nearby, or even if you're in the Portland area like I am, and you're not sure you're going to be able to get a seat, you can also just watch it on their stream that they will have. I'm not sure exactly what the link will be, but I'm sure if you Google around that time of the day, around 10:45 on that day, that you'll be able to find the stream itself. And we'll publicize it as soon as we get it as well. So that's some of my thoughts. I ask for your prayers for him and for us as an archdiocese, and especially as priests who came to know him in our time as seminarians, and then as being ordained by him. That's a very special connection, at least for me. So I can look back at that and I go, that was the priest, that was the bishop that ordained me. And he was ordained in Chicago to be a bishop by one Cardinal Bernardine, who was very, very popular and very famous. So nonetheless, keep him in your prayer, and keep all of us priests who knew him well also in your prayers. And may his soul and all the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Thank you, Grandpa Vlazny, for your shepherd's care for me and for everybody. You are being missed. I miss you now. Bye, everybody. I'll see you this weekend. Father Anthony is preaching, and I'll be around, of course, to be with you. And I look forward to seeing you all. Bye-bye.